Hello, Beth. How are you?
I am very well, Jen. How are you today?
I am doing fantastic, and I feel like a broken record when I continue to emphasize my excitement for book launch days. And there's just so much I want to unpack with you and your book launch. But before I get into all of the things, just a reminder my name is Jen Grace, and I'm the founder of Publisher Purpose. And you, my dear, are Beth Bolton, and you are the author now of For the Love of Cake. How are you feeling about being an author?
I think it's an awesome feeling. It is exciting. It's also terrifying at the same time, knowing that you've written something, it's in print, and it's out for the world to see.
Yeah.
But I am very, very excited for what I have written, and I am excited for people to read it.
Yeah. It's like excitement with a little dash of terror. That sounds like
Yes.
a perfect way to phrase it. And so let's start at the beginning
Mhm.
because it's called For the Love of Cake, which is obviously intentional. And if you want to show the book cover for visual purposes, oh, I love it. It came out so good. So why, so it's For the Love of Cake, an entrepreneur's journey. So can you just kind of explain like why the cake theme, why you're doing this?
So I owned a bakery for just about 12 years. And I loved that bakery more than it was my dream. I found the perfect spot that I wanted my bakery to be in the perfect community that I wanted it to be in. And there I was. I set out on my journey in my bakery. And we built an awesome community. Every kind of age that you could think of, people from everywhere. It wasn't just people who were local. People traveled to get to us, to see us. So I opened that bakery because at that time our country was in worse, well, I think we're in worse condition now, but then in 2008, 2009, we were not in a good economic situation. And I wanted people to feel good. I wanted a place that they could go to feel good. So my bakery and my recipes are all handed down type of recipes. And I tweaked them to be for bakery purposes. And everybody that came in just said it reminded them of grandma, reminded them of home, reminded them of holidays. And that was what I was looking for, to bring back those happy feelings of family.
That's so
And we soon learned, or I soon learned, that I did not have all the strategies in place as a new business owner.
mm,
And it was that love of community, that love of cake that kept me there, learning everything that I needed to learn.
yeah. Makes
So
makes
it's
perfect
a,
sense.
it's a walk through my bakery years, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's what makes it an authentic book that will inspire other people. And I love that you just kind of articulated it so beautifully of why, the title is For the Love of Cake, because it was the thing
Mhm.
that kept you going when you were going through the bad and the ugly phases of the bakery business.
Exactly. Exactly.
I wish we knew each other when you had the bakery because just the pieces and information I do know, I'm like, how beautiful it would have been to uh, take in the richness of what you made. But you've transitioned, so let's kind of like go back. So you had the bakery for 12 years. You obviously closed it, and so what prompted you to kind of move in the direction that you're in now with what you're up to, kind of in the world for work and business?
So I had decided it was really just about like 2 years ago that it was time to move on. I believe that personally and professionally, for me to be able to move on, the only way that I could do it was to walk out the bakery. I had accomplished everything that I needed to accomplish. That little voice told me it was time to go. At first, not really knowing where I was going or what I was doing, but it did not take long for me to find out
Mm-hmm.
that I had been left in that bakery to learn everything, all those misfortunes, all that joy, all that happiness, so that I can turn around and help other people find that same joy and happiness, but not have the same misfortunes that I had had along the way.
Mm. What I love about your book is that it feels simple. Like, I feel like you break it down in a way that feels manageable and attainable for the newly emerging business owner. And obviously that had to have been intentional on your part.
It was very intentional because people are afraid of the word business plan.
Mm.
And they go and they look it up online and they hear mission statement, vision statement, ideal client. And those words are very new to newer entrepreneurs, and they don't really know how to answer the question. So I really break it down so that people can say, I can say to people, what is your why? Instead of saying, what is your passion?
Mm.
Why do you want this business? Why do you get up every day to go do this business? And it has nothing to do with money. Money is not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally walk them through that process, breaking it down so that it's very understandable and so that they understand that it's a living document. It's just not a piece of paper that you do and then you tuck it away into a folder and it doesn't come back out until maybe you want a loan.
Yeah.
No, it's something that you revisit time and time again so that your personal and business growth can happen.
Yeah. And now, is this aimed toward like someone who's just starting out? Like they have an idea and they really need to kind of get themselves together, or is there another application for it?
So I have clients that had an idea. So I gave them some tools so that they could discover and figure out what they wanted to do. And then at that point, when they have figured out what they wanted to do, then come back, because then I can give you the next steps.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need to give you the whole steps if you haven't figured out what you want to do. Again, breaking it down into smaller pieces.
Yeah.
It can be for the new entrepreneur. It can be for a seasoned entrepreneur who said, okay, during pandemic time, I didn't do so well. I didn't, and I really don't like the word pivot, but I didn't pivot very well. So what can I do now? So you just really take it back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And just, and you would probably have an easier time answering the questions because you have history
Mm-hmm.
to work off of. And then you can scale up. Maybe you have a different idea. Maybe one part of your business worked really, really well and the other part didn't. So what can I do with this part of my business? Again, starting right back at the beginning and working yourself forward.
That's perfect. And so I feel like it's implied, but I don't know if you directly said it, that you, in terms of like your coaching, so you had mentioned some clients and things like that. So what is your area of focus on coaching in particular?
So when I coach an individual, we start with really the basics of what business is, what small business is. It is not just putting a website up or opening up a door to a store and thinking people are coming in. It's really getting them to understand the nuts and bolts of opening a business. You don't have to have a brick and mortar. We all have learned that. We've all learned that, working online is another vehicle to get our product out there, or even our service out there. So I really just sit down with them and really help them trudge through all the muck that is out there, and making sure that they're registered their business online, make sure that they've, got an accountant, they've got a banker, they've got a lawyer, they have insurance, and they'll say, well, I don't know if I really need a lawyer right now. I said, but you never know when you will need that lawyer.
Yeah.
So the lawyer should be in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes sense to me. As you're talking, I have 3 different people in my head that are popping up that I'm like, they could really use Beth right now. So let me work on the back end to see how I can coerce them into getting some additional support. But I love the brilliance of the simplicity of what you've done. And so tell me more about the workbook. Can you also show that as a visual too?
Oh, absolutely. So this is the workbook, the companion workbook that goes with my book.
Mm-hmm.
And in the second half of my book, we go through the ingredients that you need to operate a small business. This workbook, we break down everything for you. It's an interactive workbook. I like to hold an interactive class. And I like to have a couple people in there because there's ideas that you can bounce off of each other, or somebody will say something that will resonate with them where I could say, and maybe it didn't resonate with them. So I do like that group, and it really does one by one walk you right straight through it. This inside my book gives you what had happened to make me know of the people that I needed. Did I say that right?
I think so.
Um, the workbook takes it one step farther and says, I know that I need these. I want help driving my bus. I call it learning to drive your bus. And we all have a path that we are on in life.
Mm-hmm.
And that path can have many twists and turns in it. It could have a fork in the road, and we don't know what we're going to do. In that workbook, it's going to give you the information when you get to the fork in the road, what your choices might be, and how you might handle them. Or if someone is riding on your bus and you no longer want them there anymore, how do you get them off?
Yeah.
Firing somebody is not really easy. I don't have that problem. I can just say, see ya. But I have HR experience behind me. So, I mean, I bring that forward and know that I don't have any problem doing that. And also, maybe if one of your pillars or one of your people who your accountant or your bookkeeper or one of those people are not working for you, you can change them. Mm-hmm. You don't have to stay with them just because you have them. You can go find the right fit for you when you understand what the right fit is going to be.
Yeah. There's so much freedom and liberation in how you're phrasing that right now, where
Right.
like you don't have to be stuck. And I think the firing is not just employee related, it's also clients, right?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. You do not have to keep a client that every time you would see an email or the phone rings and, that person's number comes up and you're like, really, I don't want to answer that phone.
That is not
But
a good sign.
I have said, I'm sorry. I am not the person that you should be working with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. If your body is doing some kind of visceral reaction to a phone call or an email, that is not a good sign. Oh, good grief. So
Yeah.
what tell me more about your kind of your writing process. Like what was it like for you to actually have to think about your 12 years of experience? Obviously your experience now in a different way of coaching people, but like what was your process trying to formalize what you would and would not share in this?
So the first thing I did is I just got everything out of my head. Everything that was swirling around in my head for nearly 12 years just had to come out. And I had to put it on paper. And I didn't type it into a computer. I hand wrote it. It was the whole pen and paper thing. It was really important for me to write it out first. I mentioned every tiny little detail. And then when I went back and read it, okay, well, maybe the world does not need to know this piece of information. I got it out of my head and I'm okay with it, but maybe we'll just delete this little part.
Yeah.
So going back and then, just refining it, refining what you have written and refining and reading. I think I have read that book 1,000 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just, I really enjoyed the process. Yes, there were times that were stressful, only because it was just the unknown for me.
Mm.
There was something that was being asked of me and something I had no idea of how to do. And then that would really, spike my anxiety a little bit. But I think the fact that I got it all out of my head, I feel good that it's all out of my head. And I was able to tell a story that made sense.
Yeah. Cohesion is important.
Yes. Absolutely.
How long did it take you to write? Like, when did you start it versus when? Not the editing, not starting the publishing process, just the writing of it itself.
The writing of the book, I started, I want to tell you, probably March, when the world shut down. I had closed the bakery December 31st, 2019, ready to make my move, going down another path, driving a completely different bus, and the world was shut down. So I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I didn't know where I was supposed to go. I didn't know who I was. Yeah. So I said, maybe I'll just start writing this book. But then as I started to write, it just kept coming and coming. So I started just about when the pandemic hit, and I finished that manuscript by the end of the year.
It's impressive when you look at it, because it's like really kind of like 18 months from the time that you put the first literal, in this case, pen to paper, to now us having a conversation. And your book launched a couple weeks ago. So, like it's impressive to go from start to finish in 18 months. That's a good, healthy timeline.
Right. And I have nothing in the world to compare that to. So I know that I kept asking, is the timeline okay? Is the timeline okay? But it was an educational process the whole way. Not only an education on learning how to write a book, but an education of learning who I was. I really got to understand my thoughts a little bit better when they're down on paper instead of swirling around in my head.
Yeah, there's something really powerful about that. And that's the beauty of a book. There's a lot of beautiful things about books, of course, but there's something really beautiful from an expert standpoint where you're forced to have to really think about how you want to frame something for someone else's benefit. Because in your head, and in my head, we just make assumptions because we have inherent information that we're already operating with. But when you have to like really just start from scratch to figure out how am I going to explain this to somebody who knows nothing of what I'm teaching, like it's a whole other animal in terms of trying to figure that out.
And I remember writing in my book about an individual that I wasn't really happy with, just in how they interacted with me. And I held a lot of anger for this person for a very long time. And when I got done with the book, I was like, I really have no right to be angry with this person. They were only asking me for something that I should have already had. I should have already had that business plan for them. So when they asked me for it, it might have needed a little tweaking.
Yeah.
And I was able to release the anger that I had towards this person that was so unnecessary for me to carry all that time. And not fair to that person. That person doesn't know.
Yeah.
That I carried that kind of anger, but I did, and now it's gone. And so it was very cathartic.
Oh, that's so powerful. And I feel like it's those instances that are little bonuses along the way that you don't expect. Like there's certain things that you absolutely expect in this process, but something like that, it's like one of those like I lifted so much weight here, like just emotional baggage just by
Right.
having to go through this process, which is so cool.
Yep.
So I want to talk about your book launch for a couple of minutes because I feel like we would be remiss if we did not discuss Wanda. And then Wanda made an appearance at your book launch. So
Yes.
can we, because no one knows what I'm talking about when I say Wanda. So can we talk about Wanda for a minute, if you don't mind?
Sure. So the VW bus that's on the front of this cover here, I can't even get it straight, is Wanda. And she came to me as part of a photo shoot getting ready for me even writing the book.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought a VW bus, thinking of the time period that my bakery sat in, you know, the feeling that you got. So the VW bus was early 60s, and that was really late 50s, early 60s
Mm-hmm.
was really the period that when you walked into my bakery, you felt you were in.
Mm-hmm.
So the photographer actually found a VW bus that they rented for photo shoots.
Mm-hmm.
She came driving up, and then they told us her name was Wanda. And my heart just, I was like, can we use her name? And they said, absolutely. And Wanda she became, and we use Wanda in a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
We show her driver's seat to let people know that they are the one and only driver of their bus.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Wanda did make a presence at my book launch. A dear friend of mine did. I sent her the vector, and she did a whole big, huge 8-foot long cutout of Wanda, and then cut the windows out so that we all could hop inside the bus and take pictures.
I'm trying to see if I could pull up the picture I took of it quickly, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it quick enough. But yes, magical indeed. Oh, wait. It's not going to be a good picture because it's on my phone, but I'm going to try to show it anyway. So for those watching, there we are in your big old bus.
Yeah, and I have
Good.
I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, down a little bit. Yeah, with your book cover. Oh, so good. So, in terms of book launches, right, there's so many things that authors can do for a book launch, but and your book launch, because we're both local in the Hartford area, your book launch was the first one that I have been to since pre-COVID. So, and typically I would have been mingling about in a bunch of different things. And so, because everyone's been virtual. And so I just love the added level of dimension that just having like this giant, plywood Wanda in your space, like it just added like such a kind of a cool feel to it. And I think those are like the little touches that people who attend a book launch like take away. Like if I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, and I see book launches all the time, imagine like just your average person who's there to support you, and they're like, oh my God, what is happening right now? So I applaud you for the beauty of just the whole situation.
Oh my gosh. And those balloons were still up 2 weeks later. I have since moved Wanda to my front yard. I'm just like so crazy. I really am. But she is now in my front yard. I'll show you the picture. I had her standing up for a little bit, but then I moved her. So she is now.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
So I put pumpkins around her, and I bought fake pumpkins because the animals like to eat the real pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
So I got turquoise and white and, Wanda colored pumpkins. Who would have thought that I could find Wanda colored pumpkins?
Oh my God, that is so good. And you know what's funny? Anyone who knows me on at least a personal level knows my obsession with skeletons during the Halloween season. You could put a skeleton so it looks like a skeleton's driving the bus.
Oh, I think we have to do that.
And I would love to see a picture when you do, because I think that would be hilarious.
Oh, I'm going to do that.
Good.
Absolutely. That's going to be cool. And I want to put some lights on there so she's illuminated.
Yeah, put some solar lights so they're like shining up to her. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh my
Yep.
god. Oh yeah. We'll have to talk offline about skeleton decorations because I've got quite the experience. If you drove by my house, there's skeletons everywhere. But anyway, this has been such a good conversation. I'm so happy that we are able to, just celebrate the release of your book and, encourage people who, and I want to go back to your workshops for a second, but I want to encourage people, especially those that are just in that early phase of getting themselves up and running. This is such an easy, perfect book with a companion workbook. And then your workshops. I don't know if you had said, but like you do them on like a monthly basis, right? And it's helping people kind of walk through that process of creating a business plan. Is that accurate?
That's exactly it. So by the time, so it is a 2-part workshop, 90 minutes each, and I give you homework in between. And what you walk out of the workshop with is an outline for your business plan. And at that point, you can either put the business plan together because it's set up like a business plan on the inside, or I can put it together for you. Perfect. I can take, we'll obviously have a one-on-one. We'll sit down and we'll work out the nitty and the gritty, and then I can put that business plan together for you.
So good.
The introductory price between now and the end of the year, the 2-part class is only $47.
That is a steal of epic proportions.
And then it will, obviously after the first of the year, but I thought that I would, as a gift, make a really good intro price for people to come in and see how I am as a person. And, if you liked me in the workshop, how can I help you further on in your business?
Yeah, and for those who are watching that are working on their books, like what you're doing in terms of your, I hate using the word funnel, but like your one thing leads to another, that leads to another, that leads to another. It's very well organized and structured, and it's created in a way that it's a win-win-win for everybody involved, and that's the best kind of structure, in my opinion. Because a lot of times it's very lopsided, where the person doing the work is, gaining all of this benefit, but the person they're trying to serve is getting nothing from it. And so yours is very equitably arranged, which I so very much appreciate and cannot encourage people enough to get access to. Because I feel like if I went back in time to when I first started my business, which was in 2009, similar chaotic economy at the time, I would have loved to have fast-tracked things, to be like, somebody show me how to do this instead of beating my head against the wall, which obviously you did as well, which is why you are now, here to write this.
And then I have other workshops after this. We do have have a 90-day goal setting.
Ooh, nice.
So I teach you how to set the goal, a goal that's and it can be personal or professional. I mean, you're going to gain something from whichever it is, and then how to choose the action steps. So you have to have a beginning date and you have to have an end date. And then I help you learn how to achieve that goal in the 90 days. So somebody had given me towards the end of 2000, I had taken a class on goal setting, and it was in September. So she said to me, "What are you going to do, Beth, by the end of the year?" And I said, "I will have the manuscript to my book written."
There it is.
So, and then I have a vision board class, how to create a vision board so that you can see what you would like to achieve. When I was in school, I drew a picture of what I wanted the inside of my bakery to look like. I just sat there doodling because the class was really boring. I kind of tucked it away, and I really didn't think anything of it. 5 years into me owning that bakery, I was looking for something, and sure enough, that drawing popped up, and it looked exactly like the inside of my bakery.
That is wild and amazing.
And I was like, holy cow. So I had that vision
Yeah.
in there the whole time.
Yep. Oh, and now you're teaching it for everybody else. And so your website is scrolling along the bottom of the screen, but I feel like Beth Bolton seems like it's a hard name to butcher. So bethbolton.com. I mean, I'm sure people do butcher it anyway, but it seems like it'd be difficult to butcher. But it is here. It is in the links below this video, wherever you might be watching this video. So I thank you so much for your time and just, the conversation. It's been really fun to kind of catch up post launch.
I know. And I thank you and your staff from the bottom of my heart for everything that you have done to help me get this book out there for everybody to read.
You are so very welcome on behalf of all of us. You've been a pleasure to work with. So it's mutually gratitude, I guess is what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Well, have a beautiful rest of your day. For everybody else, I will be back at some point in the near